Hi there, welcome to I Lone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Cancer energy. We're going to use these two decks from Maruk X, kind of a Lenormand and a Kipper deck. And we're going to see what story they want to tell us today. And we're also going to shuffle the Intuit deck to see what it wants to add to the story. And at the end, we're going to see what is a possible outcome depending on if people harness a more high vibrational Cancer energy versus a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. We all tap into Cancer energy, and Cancer energy is about love and believing in love, loving yourself, loving others, treating other people the way you like to be treated, seeing the truth that it is about love, and love makes it all worthwhile. But some people are kind of tipped out of balance, more in favor of being about themselves or looking to things in the world to make them happy. Some people don't want to do love because then you take the risk of being hurt. And some people aren't willing to take that risk. So they could indulge in relationships and like to be in relationships, but they maybe just kind of use their emotions more manipulatively in a relationship, not really authentically investing themselves in a relationship. So people are going to be, what's going on in people's lives and the decisions they're making and what they're driven and motivated by is going to be different. So we're going to read it from those couple different perspectives and then do the outcome for different people. Okay. Had a card flip here, so let me find it. Well, I thought I did, but it must flip back in place. Okay. All right, I'll turn the camera down, and then I will shuffle the Intuit deck to go with it. Okay. First, a card flipped in the deck, and then this card came out. So a card not showing itself, which says, take your power back by claiming full responsibility for your life. I would say high vibe people, some people don't realize you've done that. You're no longer an illusion. The only people we can change is ourselves. We have to accept that other people are where they're at in life, how they view life, how they live life, what drives and motivates them. We have hope and faith and belief in our dreams from love, and some other people might be driven and motivated by, these things that they're caught up in. And they could reject taking responsibility for their life. And the reason these two cards came out is because of trauma and travel. So we've all been heartbroken before, and we've all been hurt, and some people worse than others. The travel card, though, reminds me of Sagittarius energy, the Eight of Wands, which is about higher learning and education. If we work through to deal with the truth, because the truth sets us free, accept the truth that people are where they were at, they were hurtful, they were unkind, they were unjust, they were unfair, they were unloving, they were immature, whatever they were. We can wrap our brain around that in Sagittarius energy to deal with the truth of it and let it go and move on with our life. But some other people, you have to see the truth. You have to take responsibility to see, where do I need to grow and heal and mature? Where do some other people need to grow and heal and mature? And some people are going to keep moving, we'll keep repeating a pattern until we see the truth. So the trauma card could be kind of like repeating an old pattern, and you keep moving forward viewing life that way until you do see the truth. So we're either kind of not seeing the truth, don't want to see the truth, and we'll keep moving forward in that energy, or we do see the truth and work through the pain and heartbreak of it. So what's going on in Cancer energy? Well, at the end of the reading, the last two cards that come out on the bottom of the deck would be the reason for the reading. Some people gave up their dreams with the child. That would be our more hopeful, believing nature. And some people put an end to believing in their dreams because they could have dealt with people who were hurtful, unkind, unjust, unfair. And instead of seeing the truth that, oh, these unjust, unfair things happened to me, I'm going to not invest in the kind of the coffin card, the end card. I'm going to turn my back on people who are not loving, you know? The coffin card kind of being like the death card, non loving energy. I'm not going to give up on my dreams. This has a dolphin in it, and the dolphins talk about playfulness and love. I'm just going to listen to my intuition about who are the people that are not aligned with being just and fair and loving and supportive and encouraging, and I'm not going to move forward with those people anymore. And I'm going to go through the process of dealing with the truth of it, not staying in denial of it, and then transmute the energy where then the ending, the death card, is kind of like transmuting the energy to emotionally detach from people in our life who we think harness this energy in a more shadowy way. They still got some lessons to learn in life, and we could view them as being immature. I'm not going to let people who are immature and hurtful and unkind or unloving stop me from believing in my dreams. I'm going to offer love to the situation so that I can free myself from it and let it go. I've learned lessons from this life experience, and it will transform my whole life. The death card can be about death and transformation. I've learned these lessons. I've learned more lessons based on these different people I've come in contact with about what my truth is, what my truth isn't, what their truth is, what their truth isn't. And I'm not going to let it keep me in non-life giving energy. I'm going to do this work to transmute the energy so I can emotionally detach from them and move forward in my life. And some of you have already done that. So, how do we do that with the star card? We look at life from a higher perspective. We put things in perspective. Why? Because we want justice in the world. With the courthouse card, love is supposed to be just and fair. People are supposed to treat you the way you want to be treated, or the way you treat them. We should expect, if we're kind of being immature and bossy and controlling, odds are some other people are going to be immature and bossy and controlling back because we're going to kind of trigger them to react in that energy. If we're offering love and patience and encouragement to people, but they still want to act in shadowy ways, we just see the truth of it. And we wish them peace. And so, in order to get justice in the world, the high vibe people have learned you offer love to the situation because love is what helps you heal. Seeing that some people are more manipulated by their ego, by their fear, by their insecurity, by their immature nature, by their lust, by their greed, by their past pain and heartbreak. And we wish them peace. We've all acted out at different times in our life, and we've all been more immature, caught up in things of the world that we thought were the answer to our problems and would make us happy. And we just see that other people are still kind of in that phase of life. So we offer them love to still believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams, maintain balance within ourselves. And when we're in that energy and we're maintaining balance within ourselves, no longer indulging poor behavior in ourselves, no longer indulging our more immature nature, have put an end to that. Not going to indulge it in others, wish them peace and love, but I'm going to keep my distance from you. And I'm going to look at life from a higher perspective and believe that apparently they weren't the person that God has planned for me to work with to bring my dreams into reality, because we'd have to be on the same page of what we are driven and motivated by and what we think is just and fair and what we aspire to and what we think is just and fair is different. This is Aquarius and Libra energy. Then we have the Tower card, the Tunnel, the Gift of Money. So that could kind of be like an Ace of Pentacles, which in high vibe is about learning lessons in life. And the reason that came out is because of the Birds card. In high vibe, the Eight of Wands kind of like the travel card is Sagittarius energy, which is being in high vibe is being inspired to learn lessons in life. Life's an adventure to be lived. I'm going to learn a lot of lessons in life. I've got a lot of healing and growing and maturing to do and have had a lot to do in my life. So have other people. And everybody's where they're at. Some people have learned some more lessons than some other people. And if you keep being in that hopeful, believing spirit, there can be people in the world who, shadowy energy is kind of our more egoic nature, which can be petty, envious, jealous, prideful, egotistical. And sometimes when there's people in the world who by the way they view themselves, and they could be very successful, shine bright in a lot of ways in the world, but they might, the courthouse with the scales of justice on it, kind of like a judgment card, which is Libra energy. Some people live more from their mind than their heart. Libra is air sign energy of the mind. Aquarius energy is air sign energy of the mind. And you don't have to have been dealing with a Libra or an Aquarius, but we all tap into Libra and Aquarius energy too. And some people do harness those energies in a more shadowy way. And they could think that because they have a certain image or status in the world, or attractive, or social clout, or money, or status, or whatever they got going on, sometimes when they see someone who the Sagittarius energy is fire sign energy, people who are kind of not living more from their mind than their heart and maybe caught up more in themselves for ego or image, but the tower can talk about detaching from an old foundation, and shadowy Sagittarius can be immature. Some other people did this work within themselves to look at life from a higher perspective, and they detach from their more immature nature. And then the tunnel card, it reminds me of Virgo energy, but the astrology card says Capricorn, and shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil, and the devil is our more shadowy, immature, self-indulgent, prideful, egotistical, worldly nature. And so some high vibe people kind of saw through the illusion of the world, probably because they went and made their life about those things at one time too. And then in the Tower card, they realized that it maybe did lack inspiration. And, shadowy energy, represented by the devil, can be all those things that try to limit us, imprison us, confine us, imprison us. And if we make our life too much about ourself or conforming to the world, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. You need to look like this, not like that. You need to wear this, not that. If you don't have these certain traits, qualities, and characteristics or ways of being in your life, we'll deem you as unvaluable or unworthy. And, it just ends up being all these things that manipulate you. Because again, the devil is about trying to manipulate you. And high vibe loving energy is about seeing through the illusion. And when we're caught up more in those things of the world, it's trying to get us to let go of our more creative, inspired nature. And we kind of don't move forward, kind of maybe bringing the dream into reality that we wanted to bring into reality, because we got kind of caught up in Capricorn energy, these things of the world that we view as victorious and successful. And we kind of could have invested more in that than listening to our intuition and learning lessons in life, and we've all got to go through that phase. It can be like the first 30, 40 years of our life. In tarot, it's kind of called being in your self node, and then as you learn these lessons in your life and you kind of see through how some of that stuff is such a kind of emotionally shallow and superficial way of defining yourself. You're so much more than that, and if we were to quit aligning in our earth sign energy, because the Ace of Pentacles can kind of refer to all three earth sign energies that we tap into: Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. And again, Taurus is about our philosophy of life. And, we can be a loving person all of our life, but we can really kind of be caught up in those things of the world the first 3, 4 decades. And we put a lot of work and effort because we're sure, and we kind of get indoctrinated by the world that that's what we should make our life about. Don't love and believe in yourself. Don't listen and put work and effort into your own unique talent, skills, and interests that really motivate and inspire you. No, 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 no. Don't do that. You should make your life about these things of the world. And then you'll look like you're this just and fair person and that you've gotten justice in the world. But you go pursue those things, and it could try to limit you and restrict you and confine you. And, you know, we kind of realize how it could have torn down our foundation of self. And we thought it was going to build us up and make us feel better and more balanced and more stable and more secure. And it kind of did the exact opposite, you know. When we're in our more worldly, shadowy, codependent energy, we can look to all these things in the world to be the answer to our problems: drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, being in a relationship. But we could be doing that because we were in more codependent energy. And then there's other people that are happy we're in that more codependent energy because they are too. It's like, great, let's get in a relationship. Let's neither one of us put in work and effort to free ourselves from the things that manipulate us. Let's be motivated and inspired by our more unstable foundation of fear, insecurity, ego. Let's make our life about those things. And we can do that for a long time in the world. But then the good news and a surprise visitor, and this is an emotional feminine figure, and the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. And when we're in our more worldly nature, we're kind of operating more from our ego, and our more emotionally intuitive, creative nature, we could kind of disregard, kind of keep locked up behind closed doors because we have our dualistic nature, but only one can kind of be in the driver's seat of our life. And again, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we could be a loving person again and motivated and inspired by love, but we're still so much caught up in these things of the world that we could disregard listening to our intuition. We can be tempted to make our life more about these things of the world, have a little more fear about really loving and believing in ourselves and trusting our intuition. But I think our intuition was given to us as a gift. Just like bats have sonar, bats don't decide, you know what, I got free will. I'm just going to disregard my sonar. I'm not going to use it, but we as human beings do have free will, and we can disregard it. Even when our intuition is like, you shouldn't do this. I think you're being immature. I think this person you're getting in a relationship with is immature. I think they're maybe more worldly focused, ego focused, materialistically focused. And we're like, yeah, but I'm attracted to them. And I want to go indulge in that. So then we go do it, and we've all got these lessons to learn. And, as we go get ourselves involved in something, over time, if we are, though, someone who's more inspired by love, eventually, it's kind of like the good news kind of makes me think of like love stands at the door and knocks, but you have to open up the door, and eventually we could ignore it like, no, 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 I want to keep doing this. And then, eventually we might listen to our intuition, and we could realize that we're kind of neglecting loving and believing in ourselves, and then we can get in relationships again with people who are happy we don't love and believe in ourselves, and eventually we listen to our intuition, and we could realize I'm kind of indulging and I have fear of leaving this, whether that's a job, a friendship, relationship, being just more independent in the world. I let these things manipulate me because I would like them to work. But if they're not working, and the tower is like, it's a universe card of like trying to get people to see the truth, there is something wrong here. This isn't providing the stability and security you think it is, because one person, again, we can get in these mismatched relationships where one person is more motivated and inspired by truth and love, even though they're kind of caught up still in these things of the world, but they are at the foundation inspired to grow and heal and mature themselves and be inspired by love. But we can get in relationships with people that they're like, no, that's not my truth. And then kind of during the course of the relationship, we could kind of start to feel like they do try to make us not kind of love and believe in ourselves. Because if you do keep loving and believing in yourself and working through your past pain, heartbreak, and stuff like that, and your fears and insecurities, you will be a different person eventually. Just like we were 18, we lived life as an 18-year-old. We were having a great time. But then there comes a time where it's kind of like our intuition, our more creative, inspired nature saying, you know, we've done this. We've kind of learned some lessons here. And it's kind of time to move forward to the next phase of life and detach. We've kind of seen living life when we were like 18, 19, 20, what were the good building blocks in our life to take with us and which ones we should kind of let go of now. And it's time to move to the next phase of life. And then we incorporate the lessons that we learned, what things worked, what things didn't, what was kind of more immature or self-indulgent energy, which ones, I want to let go of some of my more immature ways or my fearful ways or my codependent or insecure ways, and believe in myself that I can transform. I can let go of one way of viewing life to give birth to this next phase of life, kind of like my nesting dolls over there. We go through a phase of life and then we shed an old layer of ourselves to give birth to a new aspect of self. I have detached from some of these ways of being. That's what the coffin ending card talks about. I've been there, I've done that. I don't want to repeat that pattern. I'm ready to give birth to something new, to transform my life and kind of let a new version of myself emotionally come out into the world. I'm not the same person I was before. I'm ready to move forward in this new way. And when we're doing that work within ourselves, other people kind of can energetically kind of feel that, you're kind of not caught up in these things that you used to be, or these things that used to manipulate you and affected the decisions in your life and how you felt about yourself and what you would invest your time, energy, and effort into and what you wouldn't. Well, now you're changing and you are moving forward in life differently. And when you're doing that, it can really be destabilizing to some other people because it kind of makes them see some things in their life that could manipulate them. But if they're not ready to detach from those ways of living life, those behaviors, those ways of viewing life, or things or people in their life that manipulate them, well, then that's when kind of a person's more shadowy nature can come out, trying to stop you from moving forward in life differently. Like, like when we were young, maybe people would like, oh, no, you shouldn't go apply for a different job. You should keep working here because they work there, and they want us to stay there. And, I don't know, you don't know what's going to happen out there. Basically trying to stop people from having that hopeful, believing spirit within themselves to make them keep repeating this old pattern. And like, oh, you shouldn't go to college, and oh, you shouldn't move to a different town, and oh, you shouldn't hang out with those people. You should hang out with me still, And eventually, everybody's on their own, has to decide for themselves, listening to their own intuition. Some people can put up with a lot more neglect and abuse in their life than some other people are willing to put up with. And it's hard because those people, we wanted them to move forward with us. Whether it's a friend, a family member, a romantic interest. I thought we were all going to go on this journey. I thought we were all going to put in work and effort to work through kind of our more immature nature or entitled nature or thinking it was just and fair to live our life a certain way like forever. I thought we were all wanting to kind of High vibe energy is being more independent and like growing to your full potential. I didn't think I was going to do this. I remember being in high school, being around some people, and it'd be like, I don't know, the way they talk, like, oh, I can't wait to have kids, and then I'm going to do this with them too, is like being a partying 18-year-old with your kids. I was like, I hope that I've done some other things in my life. I can always relate to it, but do I want to still be living like the life of an 18-year-old so that when I have 18-year-olds, we're like on the same page? No, I hope not. But it was just like, that's how some people, they want to keep living their life that way because they might not want to face their fears and detach from anything. They like living their life the way they live it. And some people do live their life like an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old or 25-year-old all their life, right? And that's fine. Everybody can live their life the way they want. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel like you're living the dream and you got justice in the world. Everybody's got their own definition. But other people could be inspired that, I think that keeps me in stagnant energy where I'm not challenging myself to face my fears, and I don't like feeling like my fears manipulate me. And I want to be proud of myself that, I'm really living my more authentic life instead of letting my fear and all those things kind of manipulate me. And so sometimes we detach from some people, and everybody can be sad because we had good times hanging out doing certain things, but it's like, but you want to keep doing it and I don't. If you wanted to move forward with me and we change it up some, and maybe we don't have to do that every Friday night or every Saturday night. There's other things to do in the world. Can we go explore any of those things and maybe we'd enjoy it, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there a little bit more emotionally, just to even try new things. And for some people, that could feel like it would be really destabilizing to them, put an end. Some people would even think if I went and lived my authentic life and went and did the things I'd really, from a place of love, just loving myself, believing in myself, hanging out with the people that I love. Some people would be afraid that that would affect their image or their status. And if image and status and how they think other people view them, well, I would think maybe some of those people are hanging out with some snooty people. But, some people get all caught up in that. Oh no, I got to look this way. I got to hang out with these people. I can't hang out with those people. I can't go there. I can only go there and do that if those other people go there and do that. Then it's okay. But if I'm just there and then I'm with these, what would people say? It would seem like I'm this type of person versus this type of person. High vibe energy is being independent. You know what? I'm going to go live my authentic life. People can judge me if they want. They're going to judge me anyway. And that's where some people don't see through the illusion. Other people are going to judge you no matter what, more based on who they are than who you are. But like going back to what I was saying, sometimes there's people in the world and they think the way they live their life is this proper way to live life. But if you're kind of more creative and inspired and that's not your truth and you kind of do, harnessing some high vibe Aquarius is people who kind of step outside of societal norms. And then there's the people who are all about conforming to the world and all caught up in the illusion. And other people are like, I just go live my authentic life. Well, that can really bother some other people because it kind of makes them question why they do what they do and they don't like it. And instead of them having to deal with those issues, oh, let's just get rid of those people. Let's put a tower to those people and get rid of them. Let's not hang out with them. Nobody else hang out with them. I don't like being around them because it kind of makes me see how maybe I am more about myself and my ego and my image. And maybe I am kind of immature. And I don't want to deal with it. And if we get rid of them and there's not anyone around us in that energy, and all the people I am surrounding myself with live my life like I do, problem solved. And they can just keep moving forward, aligning with their more worldly, shadowy illusions about who they are, wanting to stay in denial of the truth. And they just keep moving forward in that way. And it's kind of where they're not growing and healing and maturing themselves. And if that's how they want to live their life, that's how they want to live their life. And right now, everybody, some more worldly, shadowy people who know they're in a relationship with someone who is more hopeful and believing, who doesn't want to conform to the world, they could be deciding to get out of a relationship with that. They could have been hoping to indulge in it, but there comes a point where the high vibe people in their life want them to free themselves from some of these things that manipulate them. And it's like, oh, so that means the relationship's over? I can't keep you're not willing to go along with this illusion? You want like the real deal? No, sorry, this is over. Apparently you're not willing to indulge me in my ego ways, immature ways, prideful ways, whatever. No longer an illusion. You've seen through the illusion, and you've seen the truth. That what I'm driven and motivated by is different than what you're driven and motivated by. And then they go try to find someone else to manipulate. And a shadowy person could try to get high vibe people, because it's always great to be in relationships with high vibe people, because they're loving and nurturing and supportive. And, maybe some people try to present themselves as this, I'm this stable, grounded, emotionally loving family person. You should, did you have that too in a relationship? But then something happened. And now maybe kind of going through a dark period, wanting a new beginning, maybe having some fears about loving and believing in yourself. Well, hey, I'll maybe come pop up in your life to appear like I'm good news in your life. And then they repeat this cycle with the next person they get in a relationship. They also could try to get in a relationship with someone who they do think is more on the same page as them. The only problem, if we have two shadowy people in a relationship, and both of them are kind of maybe immature and kind of more about themselves, because love is supposed to be just and fair, and you treat other people the way you like to be treated, and people who haven't learned those lessons can be a little bit more about themselves. So then we have two people who could kind of be a little immature, don't want to align with their more loving nature, and they can get in a relationship. But, we can always be in relationships with people, and we would like some people to maybe stop some poor behavior. Well, if we have two people who operate more from their shadow nature of pride and ego, well, how dare you? I am like a shining star. And if you want me to be the one to have to heal or grow or mature myself, well, I'm going to let go of you. I'll go find someone else who has experienced something that's upset them, that might not love and believe in themselves, and I bet they'll indulge me because of these traits, qualities, or characteristics that I have. So I think if people are shadowy, they don't kind of realize how they're stopping themselves from moving forward. Because if they try to manipulate loving people, eventually loving people listen to their intuition, and they don't want to be in a relationship with someone who they feel is trying to manipulate them or intimidate them or control them or stop them from loving and believing in themselves. That's not love. And eventually those people leave. And then if they get in relationships with people who are like themselves, well, then they don't really they both have a problem being in a relationship probably with each other, because they want someone to indulge them in their poor behavior. And for a while, those relationships can move forward, but eventually, somebody's got more money, more status, more image. Sorry, it wasn't because of love anyway. So I'm going to go get in a relationship with someone else who has more of those things of the world that I want, or more willing to indulge me in my poor behavior or my ego. And until we're willing to deal with the truth and detach from our more immature ways and get out of our ego and be willing to learn some lessons in life, Pride comes before the fall. The things that we go pursue probably aren't going to work out the way we want. And we also need to see the truth when we get in mismatched relationships. We can't make other people transform themselves. We can offer people love and encouragement and support, but they have to make that free will decision within themselves to see what needs to go and what should stay, and be willing to invest some time, energy, and effort to connect in with themselves emotionally instead of being manipulated by their fear and their insecurity or their more immature, self-indulgent nature, and put an end to indulging themselves in that way. And if some people, can get people to move forward in a relationship with them, not seeing the truth, one person could be unstable or aligned with their more worldly nature. The other person could be inspired by truth and love. And they're trying to work together kind of to move things forward. Just what they're motivated and inspired by is different. And eventually, it's kind of an imbalanced, unjust relationship. And eventually the high vibe people realize my dreams aren't going to come into reality here. Scorpio is emotional water sign energy, and we want these deep emotional connections with people if you're motivated and inspired by love. But again, some people don't do that. Or they're just not ready for that kind of relationship yet. Still got some lessons to learn. Maybe an immature player, male or female. And for some, that's just not their truth. They're never going to invest in love. That puts them at risk of being hurt. And it's kind of like some people don't let their more hopeful, believing inner child out to play in the world. They operate from their more defensive, egoic nature. I let it out to play one other time in my life and things didn't work out. I'm done. My inner child, hopeful, believing nature has to look out for my eyeballs, and my ego is going to run my life. From now on, I'm just indulging myself in relationships. Some people just want to indulge themselves in a relationship, creating the illusion they're willing to bring a dream into reality, detach from something in their past to give birth to something new. But for some people, that's just an illusion they're creating. But they'll indulge in the relationship for as long as the people will let them. And then when those people see the truth, you're never going to do that, are you? Nope. Bummer. Gigs up, huh? Okay. Well, you go. I'll just create some illusion about why the relationship ended, why I didn't move forward with that person. You're either trying to confuse people about the truth, or you're being authentic, taking accountability for your own actions, growing up and maturing yourself, or you're trying to confuse people about the truth so that other people won't move forward with the people in the world who are more just and fair and truthful and authentic. No, don't align with them. I'm going to try to tear that person down so you won't be interested in being in a friendship with them. I'm going to paint them to be a negative person because I want people to keep viewing me in this certain way. But, you can hide the truth from some of the people some of the time, but you can't hide the truth from people all the time. And high vibe people who have learned enough of these lessons, when people are hurtful and unkind, when people do try to tear you down, when people do lie about you, try to defame you, you see the truth of it. And I've been there and done that and driven my life off into the ditch before because of it. And I'm not going to put an end, kind of self-sabotage myself and let somebody who's unloving stop me. And I'm going to keep focused on having hope and faith and belief in my dreams. I'm going to detach from the people in my life who have shown me the truth of who they are. I got some lessons to learn in life. And I'm going to keep putting in work and effort to move forward in my life. And I'm going to emotionally detach from the people in my life who are kind of immature. And then as you're moving forward in that way, there's other people in the world who see the truth of who you are, and they listen to their intuition. and they want to be in friendships and relationships and work colleagues with other people who aren't more immature, because they've also dealt with some people like that. And that's when some of those people could quit indulging some kind of immature ways of being or people in their life, and they want to move forward with you in this new way where it is where people inspire other people to love and believe in themselves, to listen to their intuition, to don't not let past pain and heartbreak stop them. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Cancer that they might not see coming up? We have the Eight of Cups, the High Priestess, and the Chariot. And the reason that came out is because of the Eight of Swords. So the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which can be like this illusions card and confusion. And the reason is some people are trying to get you up in a mental prison about loving yourself, believing in your dreams, listening to your intuition, partly because they're in a mental prison about love and believing in themselves and believing in their dreams. And you listen to your intuition. And the Eight of Cups is headed towards the Nine of Cups. They're giving themselves a cup of love. People who love me shouldn't want me in a mental prison. People who love me should offer me love to listen to my intuition and move forward with me in an emotionally balanced, loving way. The High Priestess is Cancer Pisces energy, emotional water sign energy about love and intuition. The Chariot is Cancer energy, being emotionally balanced, taking the reins of your dualistic nature, holding yourself accountable for your actions, judgment. I have detached from my more immature worldly ways, and I'm not going to give up on my dreams, and I'm going to keep learning lessons in life, being inspired to look at life as an adventure to be lived where I learn all these lessons. Who wants to come with me? In love, emotionally balanced love. High vibe Gemini, the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Swords is Gemini energy. Gemini is about our dualistic nature. What is my truth? My truth is I'm going to stay focused on love. And the other people might be focused and fearful of love, and so they align with more about themselves or ego or image or something or indulgence. And the high vibe people listen to their intuition and they're moving forward in life. And other people are going to want to move forward with you. The Chariot talks about moving forward victoriously, being like a shining star in the world, because you do have hope and faith and belief in your dreams, and you're not taking action more out of pride or ego and fear and insecurity. And there's other people in the world who decided it was just and fair to not align with that aspect within themselves, and then to reject people in their life who are in that energy because they've decided they're going to align with and be inspired by their more worldly nature, and that's what they're going to invest in. And then they're going to try to get people in their life who they think they can manipulate or are on the same page as them to move forward with them in a relationship. What's going to come up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy that they might not see coming? The King of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups, the Two of Swords, the Empress, the Seven of Swords, the Knight of Pentacles. And the reason that came out is because of the Aquarius star card. When there's people being kind of shadowy in some type of relationship, work, organization, family dynamic, whatever it is, they're always going to have some high vibe people in their life that want to move forward with them in a relationship. Wanted to invest in them in a workplace, wanted to be friends with them, wanted to maybe marry them, did marry them. But the other person harnesses this energy in a more shadowy way. They're more about the world. I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. What Capricorn energy do we invest in? In our Cancer, in our Capricorn, in our Aquarius, in our Libra, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Pisces, Gemini. We're either more emotionally invested in repeating this old pattern where in shadow it's more about the world and looking like a shining star, indulging in these things or making it more about ourselves. And they have some high vibe people in their life, because we all do at different times in our life, that have been trying to offer them love, listening to their intuition, to emotionally get more balance within themselves and to be more inspired by love so that they would move forward with them. And some of the high vibe people in their life have felt stuck because what they want to give birth to with this Ace of Pentacles, what they want to invest in moving forward in a more emotionally balanced, loving way, the other people are defensive to it. And they're like, come on, let's go. And they're like, no, I'm not going. So they harness these energies in a more shadowy way. Shadowy Capricorn, Aquarius, Libra, Taurus, Leo. No, I'm aligned with my more worldly, egoic nature. I like to stay in denial that I may be more about myself or money and materialism. And I like to present myself as someone who's not self-indulgent or prideful or egotistical or materialistic, that I'm loving. But people who get in relationships with them end up seeing the truth, that if they were motivated and inspired to invest emotionally in looking at life from a higher perspective, learning lessons in life, getting out of their ego, offering love to themselves, to listen to their intuition so they could give birth to something new, they would. But they don't want to do that. And for some, it's just, I don't view life that way. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I like living life the way I live it. You do look at life differently. You are kind of more inspired to step out of your comfort zone, and I'm not. And eventually the high vibe people in their life are like, I can't keep staying stuck here in the death card. Nothing changes. Nothing ever gets detached from to make room to give birth to anything new. They don't want to change. And, that's a big fear of human beings, to change. And they maybe have to be more inspired to detach from their codependent energy, their worldly nature. They're more involved with themself nature, and they're not willing to do that. And if some of these people, and some of the people who are shadowy that have already had people move on, they could have more people in their life move on. Friends, family members, romantic interests. If they keep unwilling to see the truth. Some people could be quite full of themselves. I don't have to heal or grow or mature myself or temper my ego or be more authentic or loving or just or fair. People should indulge me. I indulge myself, and that's what I think is just and fair. And I'm looking for someone who will give up their dreams of a more emotionally balanced, loving relationship to indulge me. And then I'll indulge them if they indulge me. But it's kind of a more transactional relationship, not based on love. And if these people keep doing this, yeah, the people who might end up staying in a relationship with them, there'll be other people willing to get in a relationship with them. They look very successful in the world, or attractive, or have social clout, or money, or something. And yeah, there's going to be other people that are like, yeah, I'm going to let go of the loving people in my life, too, because I'm more about those things and looking like a shining star in the world, too. I had people who wanted me to grow up and heal and mature myself, or I have fear of love, or I'm kind of immature and got lessons to learn just like you. Let's get in a relationship. Let's both stay in denial that the reason we might be in it is either because we're codependent and we're looking for like a mother figure in our life because we haven't learned to love ourselves. So let's get in a more codependent relationship, or more about money and materialism and ego, and let's create the illusion that what a wonderful life we have. But you're either being authentic and loving, and that's why you do what you do in the world? Or you're just trying to create an illusion of what a wonderful life you have? And for some people, having people view them a certain way is the most important thing. They could get in relationships and friendships with people that they don't even love. Well, does it make it look like I'm victorious and successful in the world? Like I've moved on, like I've changed, like I've healed, like I'm not the same person I could have been in the past or in other relationships? Perfect. That's the most important thing. I need to look like a shining star. And if there's someone who's willing, if they're loving and they're willing to get in a relationship with me because they don't know the truth of who I am, perfect. So long as they don't know the truth, it's really good for my ego and image. Or there's someone who has money, because the Empress energy can just mean abundance. If there's someone who has money who's willing to offer me a new beginning, well, then maybe I would indulge them emotionally because I want those things of the world, because that's the most important thing. So it's just more for pride and ego and image than love. So there you go, Cancer energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.